So the first requirement is that the private company needs 3 years of certified audits. And unless the company isn't that old, so they need it, let's say, from inception or 3 years, whichever is greater. The audits have to be done by a firm that's a member of the PCOAB. And that's a special organization and are authorized to sign opinions for public companies. The other element there is, so in addition to the 3 years, we've recently, with the fall of Enron, we deal with Sarbanes-Oxley, which is a very difficult new statute that has a big impact on auditing. So since Sarbanes-Oxley, auditing has moved up from being, let's say, a potentially difficult area to a incredibly difficult area. I'd say that Sarbanes-Oxley is at least double the cost of an audit, probably triple the time it takes to get an audit. The biggest handicap within Sarbanes-Oxley is the fact that it limits the auditor from being able to assist the company in correcting the errors in its books and doing any pre-trial balance work. Can't really fix anything in the books. Now, up until Sarbanes-Oxley, when you'd bring in your auditor, he might look at the books and he'll say, well, you're not really doing the inventory correctly under SX standards. We have to do X and Y and Z. And he'd literally explain to the company how it has to be. And the company would then make those modifications and correct their books, and they get certified. Under Sarbanes-Oxley, the auditors aren't allowed to comment on it because that's called consulting, and you can't be a consultant and an auditor. You have to be one or the other. So what happens is the auditors come in, they take a look, and there's a problem in the inventory, and they say that I can't certify, there's a problem in the inventory. And when the client says, well, what's the problem? They say, well, I can't really help you with that. They literally don't. Other than say, there's a problem. Well, how do I fix it? Well, you'll have to decide that for yourself. The auditing firm is confronted with those kind of problems. They're hamstrung with it. So and most companies are lost, literally lost when it comes to dealing with it. Because, let's say they might be paying their accounting firm maybe $250 to $350 an hour, and they say, well, I can't, there's a problem there, and they won't tell them how to fix it. So now the companies that can function well are those that have a CFO who himself is a highly qualified public company auditor. Let's say if he'd previously been a PCOAB auditor. But that's actually pretty rare, especially in a small company. They have a CFO, but he's necessarily not, let's say public company audit level. He can be bright, he can be effective, he can be a damn good CFO, but he doesn't have that technical SX experience, and he's lost. The way we resolve it is I hire two accounting firms. They're both PCOAB, they're both qualified to do everything. But the first thing I do is the auditor I hire, I send them in not to do an audit, but to put my books together so that it's auditable. So basically what happens is we develop what's called an audit package, which is we go through and we fix the inventory and the assets and anything that might be going on in that company. And but it's like the olden days. In other words, we send in an auditor and he's going to produce an audit for us. Except in this case, it's not an audit, but it's the audit package. When he's done, I bring in the second auditor who audits the job. But at that point, it's a walkthrough for the second man, because the first guy that I had in there is probably every bit as qualified as the second guy. And they're not stepping on each other, and I'm not doubling the costs, because let's say the first auditor I send in there, he's called a consultant. As a consultant, he can do anything except sign the audit. So I literally have him do everything except sign the audit. And when I'm ready to have the audit signed, I bring in the second auditor, and his job is sign the audit. Now he's going to have to look at everything the first auditor did, but that's easy, it's fast. And I make sure that the two auditing firms know each other, they trust each other's integrity, and nobody's playing any games. But this is the solution to the fact that The auditor can't be a consultant or auditor at the same time. With that approach, I would say that we cut the audit cost in about half, and we cut the audit time to probably a third. But that only happens in a kind of an engagement where Whitehall has been engaged to deliver the project. So, and in that engagement, the client, instead of the client engaging a law firm, who, by the way, is always, is going to bill that client by the hour. He's got an incentive to bill hours. And then he hires an accounting firm who bills by the hour, and he's got this incentive to bill hours. And then he's got an investment banker who's going to run with it to Wall Street and raise the money, but he can't begin that project until the legal and the audit is finished. So what happens is the project doesn't go to Wall Street until the lawyers are done with their hourly billings and the accountants are done with their hourly billings. So, and the disadvantage there also is that, first of all, it's a bad way to hire these services, but it's going to cost the client a lot of money. And the client can't really help himself, because no matter as much as he might wish it otherwise, he's never done this before, and he's never bought those kind of services before, and he doesn't know what they should cost. So anyway, but that's the way most transactions are done. But the other kind of a transaction is the one that we favor, is where let's say Whitehall will say to our client, I'll give you a price on, now I have to see the books first, and I got to understand the company, and I got to get into it and understand it and see it, but I'll give them a price on everything. In other words, the legal and the accounting, the shell, delivered, fixed price. Now what happens is, I know how much legal fees are. I've been buying them for 25, 30 years. So not only do I know how much they cost, I know lawyers that can produce it quick and very cost effective and without any hoorah-rah, without, trying to, because number one, I don't hire them by the hour. I know what the price is going to be. I just don't know if it's my first pick, second pick, or third pick. But everybody I pick, I know really, really well. Same with the auditing side. Now, it takes the auditors longer to give me the answer. The lawyers can usually give me the answer on the telephone. The auditors want to make a field trip out to the job site and look at the books. But that's not hard either. If I've told them I've already been out there, I've already seen it, this is what you've got, I give them the samples, and and what they will do is they'll give me the price subject to a field investigation. But I can tell the client ahead of time, this is how much I can buy the legal services for. This is how much I can buy the accounting services for. This is how much the shell's going to cost. We add them together, that's the price. I'll give you an upset guarantee not to exceed. If things break a little easier for me, it'll save you some money. If they break against me, I'll eat it. But what happens is, a lot of times that's the difference between the client saying, okay, let's go, and, well, I'll have to give this some more thought. Because, if you ask them to, really what a lot of professionals are asking them to do is just hand me over your gold card and I'll bill you, and then when I'm done billing you, and they'll always come up with a reason why it has to be hourly and why they can't tell and blah, 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 blah. But the way I get paid is I get a success fee on the back end. I get paid when we raise money on Wall Street. I don't get paid to go to a bunch of meetings and hear these excuses to bill the client. So I don't even go to the meetings. I don't want to hear about it. In other words, I just say, listen, when you can bring me the project that I can go to work on, I'll take it and I'll go to Wall Street with you. So I don't know if I'm going to see you again in 2 months or 6 months or 2 years. But whenever it gets here, I'm ready to go to work. That's what happens when the client wants to put his own team together. But the much better way is for the client to say, Whitehall, give me a price. I want to know. I want a fixed price. I want a date that I can go to Wall Street. And I can do that for him.